time in 4 different Nazi concentration camps. His family died, he suffered horribly, and he spent years watching people around him suffer and die horribly. Out of this came an incredible book, Man's Search for Meaning, and a theory of psychotherapy called logotherapy. He talks about the following statement. He said, "We who lived in the concentration camps can remember the men who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in numbers, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken away from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you do with it. I was crippled. I was unable to move. I couldn't control what was happening to me. I was the healer, always in charge and helping others, and now that was all gone. But I could control what to do with what I did have. It's like a card game. You can't control what cards you're dealt, but you can control how you play them. I could control how I felt about my condition. I could control my reactions to it. My mind worked. I could communicate. I was alive. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you do with it. Viktor Frankl also said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. I have found that this theory really works, and I've used this idea many times and in many situations as I continue to counsel individuals and families in distress and trauma. I suggest that you too can impart this idea to the people that you interact with. Help them understand that what happened already occurred, and there's nothing that they can do about it, and you can't change that. Give them the feeling and hope that they are in control. They're in control of their future. Encourage them to take control of that. Help them refocus to concentrate on the future. Credo number 2. My essence and my soul remains unaffected and connected to God. At the worst point of my illness, I was immobilized and confined to a hospital bed. I was totally dependent on nurses and aides to assist me in every detail of my personal life. My feelings of helplessness were intensified by feeling of embarrassment and shame at needing such help. I knew that this aspect of my life was not going to change quickly, and I had to find some thought to help me to be able to get through it. And one day, a song popped into my head, and I found it to be empowering and a source of encouragement and resolve. And I began to sing, Ashreinu ma tov chalkeinu, u'ma no'im gorolenu, u'ma yofa Yerushaseinu. Ashreinu, how fortunate are we. Ma tov chalkeinu, how good is our lot. Ma no'im gorolenu, how sweet is our portion, and how beautiful is our heritage. Thinking of this song gave me back the idea that no matter where we are, or no matter what happens to us, no matter how physically ill we are, we're still connected to God, and we still have our neshama, our soul. And that soul was created in an image of God. That soul doesn't get sick. That soul doesn't change when you become sick. And that part of me is healthy, and it's well, and will continue to stay well. Nobody can take that away from me ever. My essence and my soul remains unaffected and connected to God. That singular thought has sustained me through all of my trials and tribulations. It's something that I try to impart on others as well. And you can do the same in the course of your Bikur cholim interactions. Try to give patients the feelings that though many things in their lives have changed, there's one thing that will always stay the same. For the patient, the chola, who's at rock bottom in despair, being reminded that he's a part of God and that he is made in the image of God is transformative. At the end of the day, it's something that nothing and nobody can take away from him despite his very real suffering. Credo number 3. I call it BIO, B-I-O, and it stands for Bring It On. During that first year, things were happening to me in rapid succession. Paralysis, lymphoma, thyroid surgery, embolisms, etc., etc. I was in and out of the hospital many, many times. I did not want to get angry, and I didn't want to get depressed, and I desperately wanted to keep on fighting. I was fighting my disease, I was fighting my situation, and I decided to declare war. I would not allow the situation to overcome me. And I took a stance, I took up arms, and I drew a line in the sand. Some of my colleagues thought I was being too strong and somewhat blasphemous and sacrilegious, but there was no stopping me. I said, bring it on. I said, you seem to be on a campaign to break my spirit. Bring it on. Throw it at me. Give me your strongest punch. Show me what you got. Go ahead. You can't break me. You can't break me, and I'm going to beat you. And I ordered a cap that I wear from time to time. It says bye. The thought was extremely empowering. I was doing something. I was fighting back, and I won. I know it's extreme, and it may not be for everybody, but sometimes extreme circumstances demand extreme measures. It worked for me, and you could use it to work for others as well. Please give the patient the encouragement to understand that he, she is stronger than the illness. As hard as it is now, he needs to understand that even if it gets worse, and even if it gets more difficult, they can beat it and they can overpower it. Credo number 4. Find something positive to focus on. A number of years ago, I had the pleasure of doing a favor for a Rabbi Dessler in Cleveland, Ohio. Afterwards, he called to thank me, and he rewarded me with a gem of a message. Every morning in our daily prayers, we begin our daily prayers with a number of blessings that we recite, which is from the Talmud in Masechtas Brachos, where the Talmud says that when upon opening one's eyes, a person should give a blessing, Baruch Pokeach Ivrim. When you open your eyes in the morning, you say, blessed is he who gives sight to the blind. Among the blessings is the fact that when one goes ahead and begins to walk, you make a blessing, Baruch Amechen Mitzadei Gover. That God is the person that prepares the steps of a person. What does it mean that God prepares the steps of a person? And Rabbi Dessler told me in the name of the saintly Gaon, the Lefkowitz, that the meaning of it is as follows. He says that when a person is born, it is predetermined at that time how many steps that person will be taking in his or her life. You get a certain amount of predefined amount of steps that you're given to walk on this earth. Says the Lefkowitz that sometimes you use up most of your steps, which means that once you use up all your steps, you're going to die. And when you've used up that many steps, sometimes God makes you handicapped, that you can't walk that well in order to keep you alive. So he does you a favor, and he cripples you, that you'll live many more years. I was busy complaining to God why he did this to me. And in reality, God was plotting a plan to keep me alive. So what I considered to be my handicap was truly a gift from God. Instead of being angry, I should have been thanking God. As a Bikur cholim operative, it's important to know, what is your job? What are you there to accomplish? And I think what you're there to accomplish is to find something positive to focus on. I have struggled many years to understand fully the meaning of the blessing that we give to every single chola, to every single sick person. That commonly we say to a sick person that you should have a refuah shalema. That we wish the sick person to have a refuah shalema. What does that mean, a refuah shalema? Refuah shalema means that may you have a complete recovery. And it bothered me. Why would you say shalema completely? Would anyone want to wish a chola, a refuah that's not shalema, that's not complete? What does it mean, shalema? One day, during davening, the meaning of the phrase became very clear to me. When you become seriously ill, the sickness attacks your body physically and your neshama, your emotions, spiritually and emotionally. Almost always, there are feelings of depression, anxiety, there's tension, loss of bitachon and emunah, loss of faith and belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and God. These emotions attack your soul and your neshama in complex ways. Often, the person that's sick is healed from his sickness physically, but he continues to be plagued by many difficulties due to his neshama diseases, depression. This part of the illness is longer lasting and much more insidious than the physical ailment. And that's the meaning of shlema. The meaning of shlema is that the patient, the chola, should be wholly healed. He should be healed physically, and he should be healed emotionally as well. So when you're wishing someone a refuah shlema, know what you're saying. When visiting a chola, when you're visiting a sick person in a hospital or at home, even though you may not be able to help him physically, there are many types of healings that you can bring to that person for their spiritual sickness. People ask, what can I really do for this sick person? Why am I really here? As you visit a patient, you often wonder what to say. Often people come and visit a sick person and they tell the person, have you tried this? How about that hospital? Or that specialist? What does your doctor say? Or how many more years do you have to live? These questions can be bothersome. They're annoying and they're insulting. You're not there with the stethoscope and with the white coat. For the average visitor, there's very little that you can do for that person's physical condition. There is, on the other hand, a great deal that you can do for the chola, for the sick person's emotional well-being. It's well known that the beginning of healing comes from the spiritual, from the emotional. You bring refuah, you bring help to that sick person in the form of personal interaction. If we consider your visit from this point of view, you can be just as helpful to the patient as a doctor. You're not a visitor. You're a doctor of the soul. You're a doctor of his emotions, and you don't need a license for that. Friendly conversation, prayers, singing, jokes, and balloons are all available without a prescription. The visit with a caring heart can bring about real changes in the chola, the sick person's neshama. Find something positive to focus on. And there's always something positive to focus on. Focus on the future. Talk to the patient about his future plans. Talk about his work, about his home. Help him see his disability in a positive light. When the healer needs healing, it's not been an easy ride, and I continue to struggle physically and emotionally. Emotionally, it's often very painful to realize that I am physically unable to go to every single wedding, funeral, event, and meeting that I am expected to attend. I can't accomplish what I would like to accomplish. I try hard to meet my expectations and standards that a normal congregational rabbi is generally held to. But every day I thank God in my prayers for giving me the strength to continue and to thrive. I want to once again thank my wife, Shani, for being the main reason I continue to keep my sanity. I hope that you have given you something to think about and something to take home in your youth, in your mission of Bikur. to remember the four credos.